Hello, and this is Ari Wickes, joined by the great Oren Glickman. We are here for Yeshiva League podcast, episode number 2 of the Tip Off podcast. We are going to be joined by Noah Hiltsik from the Ramaz Rams. Will be our special guest of the week and player of the week, and we're happy to have him join in a few minutes. Before we start, let's just talk about our sponsor, Holy Schnitzel. What is more to say than Holy Schnitzel? You tell a kid, an adult, or anyone you're having Holy Schnitzel for dinner, you're going there, big smile comes on your face. It is just a place to get all your good food from sandwiches, salads. They do bar mitzvahs, they do brisses, I don't know if they do brisses actually. I don't know if you're going to have meat for a bris, but why not? If you wanted a meaty bris, that you could call them. They do all your catering needs, and they're on Uber Eats, all your apps where you can get your food, and they are great. They have locations throughout the tri-state area. If you haven't eaten there, please check it out. Mention Yeshiva League Pass Tip Off Podcast and see if they don't charge you double. No, that's it. But thank you for Holy Schnitzel. And now, without further ado, let's bring on Noah Hiltsik for our Player of the Week. Hello, Noah. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So I got to obviously say on a personal note, as most of you know, I'm the athletic director at Ramaz, and Oren works at TABC. Oren was very instrumental in recommending Noah to be our player of the week. I obviously, see him firsthand all the time. He's a great player and a great kid, and we're happy to have you on the show. So Noah, I know you're a big viewer of Yeshiva League Pass podcasts and all the great media content we have. We're just going to fire away with some questions, get to know you a little bit, and let the audience hear about you and your story and your journey so far this season and in your career. I will start. Tell us about, the season you had. I think that, Ramaz was thought about as probably a middle of the pack team coming into the season, not maybe in the tier one of the championship level teams right now. But how do you feel your season has been? And right now you're sitting 5-1 atop the division, tied with SAR as we do this podcast. How do you feel the season's been so far? And, what are the hopes for the season as it continues on?
So we knew we were coming into the season as people thought of us as a middle tier team, but Coach Ferguson said to us that he knows that and that we have to prove to everyone, but most importantly, proving to ourselves. But I think so far we've been doing a pretty good job. Obviously, went to LA and had a couple tough losses,
I don't
but
remember those, but okay, yeah.
but we came back and started off strong, 5-1, and yeah, we're just hungry to
Yeah,
win.
so how has it been mixing? Because obviously, I should mention that you guys were in the JV championship last year, where you lost in overtime to Flatbush in a great game. So how has it been, coming in as a JV runner-up, basically, and implementing with the senior class you have? A lot of these players some of their key players, I should say, were not on the JV team when you were a freshman. So how has that been adapting to the new guys and the seniors and you guys being a cohesive unit?
Yeah, obviously we had a great team last year, but joining the seniors, it obviously takes a little longer to have chemistry with everyone, especially because back in my freshman year, the team looked a little different and players played different amounts. So we kind of had to build it through practice in the preseason and then those tournaments. We're using those tournaments basically to get better. Obviously, we want to win them, but prep for the real thing in the real season. And yeah, it's just been getting better every single game. Our team's been getting better, fixing little things every game.
Absolutely. Aaron, what do you have for Noah?
Yeah, so listen, you torch my guys on Sunday. I get excited as the opponent anytime you pull up from beyond the arc. Um, I think you have one of, if not the prettiest stroke in the league when it comes to 3-point shooting. Do you have a specific like plan in place? Like, are you someone who shoots 30 times a day in the Ram Dome, to keep that shot going? How did you become such a crisp 3-point shooter?
I think going into games, like the plan is to just keep moving. Also, Coach Ferguson emphasized to run off the screens extra hard because that gets you more open, and especially in a league where they could focus on you to not let you get open, you got to run hard, especially on the break to get your open looks because that's where you get the most open looks. But just shooting in general, I think back in like seventh grade, I just got a lot of shots up, and it wasn't something I focused on to be a good shooter initially, but it kind of just like came to me. So it was a little bit of luck.
Hard work does not equal luck. Hard work pays off. So, as you said, you were in the gym making sure that you become the shooter you are today. So, you mentioned something that I wanted to piggyback on. So, tell us about the biggest change from playing JV, where the physicality is just not different. The quickness is different. Everyone is just a better player. They're all a little more aggressive. What has it been for you now? Also knowing going into your junior year, like you said, freshman year you may not have played much, but sophomore year you had an outstanding season. You were an all-star. So now people know, hey, we got to shut down Noah. As Oren said, he's got a great three-point shot. What has been the biggest adjustment for you as a personal player, getting your shots up, knowing the defense is focusing on you and playing at the varsity level?
Yeah, so probably the biggest adjustment is stamina because it's just such a fast game, especially I know now they have a shot clock in JV, but they didn't last year. So it's kind of like you get a shot up with like 1 second on the shot clock, you got to get back on defense. It's the same thing with pushing on offense. So it's kind of just the speed issue. Physicality hasn't really gotten to me yet, but I think it's more of the speed issue and stamina. Trying to
Right.
say,
What about the defense is focusing on you? Like obviously you're going to handle a lot of face guarding, right? When you go play someone as who is known as a shooter, how has that been? How have you been able to handle that as well?
yeah, with that, it's kind of just like working the hardest you can in game, but also conserving energy for defense. But yeah, you just, as I said before, you just got to run off screens quick and push into transition. And yeah, you just got to try to be the best you can on offense.
Absolutely. Oren, you're up.
Yeah, so it seems to me like you picked up where you left off in JV. You transitioned quite well to the varsity level. Um, is that do you think Coach Poppers specifically was someone who prepared you well for this level?
Yeah, I think especially because I think my game translates well like through those levels because a bunch of it's catch and shoot, but also I'm trying to get better with the dribble and playing defense. But I think Coach Bobber's helped me a huge amount because he emphasized every little detail of my offensive game and he showed me what it's like to run off screens and to keep moving and to also just keep your head up and play better defense. He was big on the defense part also.
And maybe a little scouting or two also. Poppers is known
Yeah,
throughout
yeah, of
the YL, right?
course, of course.
So you just had a great game, as you mentioned, as Oren mentioned. You played TABC this past Sunday. You victorious. You guys had a good game. Coming off that game, you had played Frisch in your home opener. Big, Frisch is obviously one of the perennial contenders. Tell us about the matchup with Frisch playing in your home crowd. You had a good crowd there. How was that environment? And do you see Frisch as a team to beat right now, or what was your feelings on that game, and what did you take out after the game, after the results of it?
Yeah, so um as you saw because you were there for the first 3 quarters, I was a bit hesitant to shoot. It's just like I passed up a couple shots because maybe I was a little scared to take them if they were a bad shot. But then my coach he told me to just let it fly because that's what you do on the court. So then I started to do that in the fourth quarter, but it was a little bit too late. Well, we tied it with like a minute 20, got close, but they had a big shot. But yeah, it was a great game, obviously. But taking out of that game is that it's an early regular season game, and you just got to build on those losses. And sometimes the losses can be a good thing for the team to just get better and see what you have to fix, rather than winning that game and not really looking back on it and saying what you did bad. Because now you focus more on the bad things of what happened in that game, and you can build for the next game, especially because we play them again.
Right, absolutely. So that's right. You can see, and definitely everyone knows Isaac Stepner and in the crew that they have there is a
Yeah,
great
it's
team.
a great
So
team.
definitely a stepping stone to understand, where you need to be if you want to beat one of those better teams. Oren, go ahead for the seasoned veteran. I mean, this is like, I feel like we're on ESPN here with the answers of it's almost as if he knew the questions, and I promise you, he does not know the questions. He asked for a prep. He's like, "Tell me the question." I'm like, "Nope, no, like everyone else, no one will get the questions, and you'll get it as we go on air." But you're doing a great job. Oren, you're up.
Yeah, so you highlighted the Frisch rematch on Sunday, December 14th. Are there any other games that are on your mind? Are you thinking about like Does the JEC game, does the JEC rematch intrigue you too? Because Coach Grunberg coached you freshman year. Are there any other games that you would highlight on your calendar?
I think a couple games I would highlight is I think the SAR game in January at their place. I think that's big. I think that's the second to last game of the season. So that's big to end the season going off on like a high note, especially if we can win that game. But also, yeah, obviously the JEC rematch and probably the Hillel game at home. And then obviously the Guinness tournament, which isn't part of the season, but it's a very fun time.
Right. So, like, as you know, he mentioned almost every opponent, just so there wasn't one opponent who feels neglected on that. He's like I said, a savvy media man. Tell us about you were someone like you said you were a shooter. You developed that in seventh grade, but what was the the way that you worked on that? Like, was it a lot of, like you said, in the gym? Were you working with someone as on camp? Or, what was the biggest? When did you feel confident in your shot, knowing when I shoot, I feel like it's going in every time? Like, when did you reach that level as far as the confidence level?
Um, I think it's probably during seventh grade, but I just like worked with a few people like kind of throughout my life. Like I worked with Mike Dube very early at La Vie during the summers for like a couple summers, like three, four, five. But yeah, probably just that. I don't know. It was kind of just on my own. And then during the summers, I'd get a lot of shots up, obviously in like leagues at camp. But yeah, it was just always kind of fun for me. So I just kept doing it. And then I felt very confident around seventh grade when like I first entered the Yeshiva
Is there
League.
is there is there one defender, and you can give him his flowers when you go up against, you're like, damn, I hope this guy's not guarding me. Is there one guy in the Yeshiva League that just like, I'm gonna have to really work, or I'm gonna have to get a lot of screens to get open? Who's that guy?
Um, yeah, I think so far this year, I'd probably go with Romano. He was a great defender on me in the Flatbush game. After I hit a couple shots early, he just knew what to do and guarded me. Yeah, so probably
All
him.
right, Oren, what do you got? Go ahead, and then we'll have a wrap up question for him, and then we'll let him give his shout outs.
Yeah, sure. So who are some guys in the league that you would want to go up against in a 3-point shooting contest?
Real 3 point
Um,
shooting contest, not like when you pick the 15th guy off the bench to shoot in these tournaments. Give it, give it,
yeah.
give us your five shooters who are going to be in that contest that you're going to have to go against.
Okay.
You give us four others. There's you and four others.
Okay. So me, I'd go Isaac Stepner. He's a great shooter. Neufeld, he's a great shooter.
Sounds like it fresh in his mind. He's going two fresh guys
Yeah.
right
Um, Romano, um, Blechner.
All right, we'll let you get one more in. Buckner from SAR, and who's the fifth?
Trying to think. I was not expecting this question.
Well, that's why the best answers are when you don't know.
Um, don't want to leave anyone out.
Zoe Levy from Frisch Girls, she's a very good shooter. I mean, you could. We'll go with the boy. Give us one more guy.
Yeah. South Seinfeld.
Okay, there you go. What a teammate. He goes with a teammate. All right, well, listen.
Kept it within the
One last
conference.
question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Oren.
Kept it within the conference. I like it.
Yeah, I'm not so educated on the other conference, so.
Oh, those are fighting words for his crossover games. But listen, tell us, give us some shout outs, some people who that you want to thank, just for obviously, yeah, know you have a wonderful family and everyone, but who are some people you want to shout out? Any teammates, friends, or anything that just the floor is yours for about 20, 30
Yeah.
seconds. Give us what you want to do there.
So not in my family.
No, anyone, whoever.
Okay.
Whoever, I was pumping up your family, but you tell us who.
Yeah. So obviously, shout out my dad. He's always like by my side for every game. He's always there. Obviously, my friends like Edward, Ash, Emmanuel Kushner. They've played with them my whole entire life, basically. My coaches, Coach Scott, Coach Poppers, and Coach Grunberg, and then Coach Wickes.
Oh, okay, I'll take that. There, I didn't
And
set that one
then
up, but I appreciate it.
obviously everyone on the team. And then, yeah, those guys push me the hardest for sure.
Right. So it looks like you like Oren said, you're on your way, a great start. You're going to get into the middle part of your season, and you have the Sam Guinness tournament coming up. Wishing you the best of luck. Obviously, like we said, you prefer to work hard and as opposed to let luck happen. And congratulations on a great start of the season, and we look forward to seeing how far you guys go and where the rest of the season takes you. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Great to have you. All the best.
Bye.
Wow, what a guest, Noah Hiltsik. It's on. We always talk about this, right? Like we don't we. I mean, I was saying no Noah a little well better than I do a lot of the other kids that we bring on, but you don't know these kids, you don't know their personalities, and then they come. It's either they've watched a lot of Sports Center and they hear how the answers are, but it's just great to hear their perspective. It's almost like mature beyond their years when we talk basketball and they just break it down to give us their experience and their point of view. So that was a great on my end. What did you see on that interview that stood out to you?
Yeah, no, he was great. He was very prepared, with the exception of my last question.
Exactly right, and he was, by the way, all day. He's like, well, we gave him the invite to join. He's like, you got to tell me the question. I'm like, nope, you're not getting the questions. That's the beauty of it. Just like you play basketball, you don't know what's going to
Want our
happen.
guests to be authentic.
Right, exactly. So that was Noah Hiltsik for joining us. Now let's get into the power rankings, and we have a lot of movement. As the panel looked at this, there were, as we get to the top, even the bottom, like I don't know, I don't remember, but I don't remember this much movement in week 2 of our 3 or whatever it is of our power rankings. But it's kind of like we said early on that the season, there's just so many teams that are just right there with each other, and that's going to be climbing up, down. And let's get into it to talk about those teams. We have a new number 20. So 20, it's not great to be number 20, but it's better when the team at 19 is. At 20, we have Orr, who's undefeated. Not undefeated, I meant winless. They're winless. They've been, kind of what we thought all season. They are going to try to hang with you. It's usually a first quarter where they keep it close and then kind of just gets out of hand, and that's where they are right now at 20. At number 19, a big yasher koach to Coach Ellie Katz for bringing Barkai up one in the rankings, but more importantly, really nice. They got their first varsity win in their second, third, fourth game of the season. So they beat, who is it? Heschel?
Kushner.
Oh, Kushner. They beat Kushner, who people have thought Kushner was going to be a force this year, and we'll talk about them when we get to them in a few. But congrats! That first season you're usually looking at 0-14, right? You're not necessarily winning a game, and now they're set up to get 2 or 3 if they could get one of those other teams.
And they took the hard route. They elected, as a small school, they elected to play in varsity with juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, as opposed to having that option of playing JV.
Right, absolutely. So, and then I guess the hard work pays off, as we have said before. At number 18, Rambam, who I think a little disappointing. I think they had some potential. I saw them earlier in the Mag and David tournament, and they looked okay, and they've just, maybe their schedule has been a little tough, but have not really gotten many victories besides 1 or 2 thus far. So they are at number 18. At number 17, Waterbury. What do you know about Waterbury? I don't know much about them. I know they lost to Magan by 30. They beat a team.
They're beating the teams they're supposed to beat, and they're losing to the teams they're supposed to lose to.
Right. So that's where they are at 17. At 16, the Heschel Heat. Heschel had a surprise victory earlier this week against Hafter. They beat them by a few points, and based on where they are in the rankings, we did not expect that to happen on paper. But again, I think it's between a lot of these teams just being close, but they picked up a win, and then they have a lot of losses to some of the teams they could have beaten, like the Kushner. I don't know exactly, but these tier teams that we're talking about now, they've lost to some of them where, not picking up those wins.
Right. Kushner, JEC.
Right. That comes back to haunt you when you're trying to battle for a top 6 playoff seed. At number 15, I think disappointing is talking about this word. Everyone beginning of the season talked about Kushner with the arrow pointing up. They had the transfers, the new kids coming in from other schools, and they've really struggled. I think they've had some injuries, as many teams do. You're going to have players missing games, but I think disappointing so far. And they've been losing not even really close games. It's been like double digits and beyond. What have you seen? Have you seen Kushner play at all? Or
I saw a little bit of their game Saturday night against SAR. I think they hung with them for a half. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that they have been struggling with injuries from time to time.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know if they've been fully healthy, but sometimes you're halfway through the season. It's like everyone's kind of has an injury
right.
here and there, and you gotta.
I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe they were strategic in how they handled their schedule for the first few games, but maybe their real identity of is really starting to show in terms of what people really expected out of this Kushner.
Right. And also, like, if you're going to make it, especially in the Western Conference, a top six seed is not going to be easy. You have, as we get in the rankings, you'll see a lot of those teams from that conference are not going to get many losses against the lower teams. So they're going to have to beat those teams, in this tier to really make a playoff push. At number 14, you have the Hank Hurricanes. Also, I think a little disappointing. I saw them in the MDY tournament. They look good, but they've also been struggling. They had a close game against DRS last night, or whenever you played the podcast the other night. They lost to DRS at home by 7 points. Again, which shows that they're capable and they're skilled, but you got to try to get some of those wins, especially if you are trying to make some noise. And they have a good player, a good junior,
Hillis,
Hillis, and they have the senior shooter. You know his
Little
name. Yeah. So,
transfer from Rambam.
right. We'll see if they can move it up. At number 13, you have YDE, which again, I think YDE is like kind of the mid range Mamba. Like every year, like they're the team, and I say that with no disrespect. I say that you need to be ready to play them, but they just never seem to beat that team above them. It's like always that mid level team where they can maybe beat, but they don't pick off like the teams up in the top 10 of the power rankings. What do you think about YDE?
My question about YD is who is that marquee player that they have? You know,
Right.
um, when YDE was more of a force in years past, they had one or two
Right.
marquee players.
They had it's like one of the stars of the league. You're right, absolutely
Yeah.
right.
It seems like they have a very similar identity to Hank in that they have some potential, but might not be able to do anything with it. And
Right.
also, Saul Dweck is a great coach, so I think that was a great addition to their staff. But Rome wasn't built in a day, so maybe it'll take some time for him.
Right, exactly. So that's where they are. At number 12 is JEC, who you just saw against TABC the other night. And TABC came out with a 2 or 3 point victory. JEC, from what I was reading in the press clippings from some people I know in the industry, I thought they were going to be better, but they've been disappointing so far. I know they hung around with TABC, who was shorthanded, as we'll talk about as we get to them in the power rankings. But they lost to Heschel, no, not Heschel. I'm sorry, they lost to MTA.
MTA, yeah,
Well, pretty handedly, and I know MTA has been phenomenal thus far, even though their record is kind of even par. But they played a lot of tough
up and down.
scheduling.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't. They just haven't had that victory. Their schedule gets a little easier. They got Orr twice coming up. Probably, I think they play Waterbury, and but I think very disappointing thus far with only having the one win and not besides the TABC game, not that much of a close game. What did you see actually after seeing them firsthand?
yeah. I think Rosazada is one of the best juniors in the league. I think he's up there with Stepner and Hiltzik.
Yeah, and I think as you mentioned, juniors, not to cut you off, not to get seniors mad, but I think the junior class may be better than the senior class this year.
Right. Having said that, though, Michael Schnurr, he played great last night. He kept JEC in the game.
He's a point
Uh,
guard, right?
yeah,
Shooter.
yeah. So JEC can hang with teams, but they need that big statement win, and we'll see if they can get that this upcoming weekend when they travel down to Deal to take on Hillel.
Right. I think actually the TABC JEC was almost like loser leaves town match, from a wrestling phrase. Like because one of you is going to end up after that game 1-4, and one of
Yeah,
you
yeah.
2-3. 1-4 is very. It's hard to come back with unless you have a softer schedule, which
Right. And
TABC never
JEC,
does.
based on SOS, JEC have a a much more favorable schedule than
Right.
TABC,
So
so
I think that
TABC
was.
needed to win more than they
Yeah,
did.
absolutely. So there at number 12 is Jay-Z. At number 11 is Hafter. I think they just haven't beaten anyone yet, but not that they've played anyone above their weight class so far. I think they might even be two and they have one loss. Who did
Yeah,
they lose?
I'll
They
get that.
lost. They lost. Oh, they lost to Heschel. They lost to Heschel.
Right,
Um,
right.
which was probably an underwhelming, like not when you go through the schedule, not a team that you thought you'd lose to, and they've beaten the Hanks and the Ramboms of the world so far. I think as they get into the meat of their division against North Shore, DRS, Magan, that will really tell us more about them. They've also had some injuries after, but they also, as far as scheduling, have a little easier time this year because they only play the Magans, the DRSs, and North Shores, I believe, once this year as opposed to twice in Flatbush.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're number 11, and they have the potential to move up, but I think they're going to have to beat somebody to really make a statement.
It's funny that you mentioned that because three of their next four games are North Shore, DRS, and Mag.
Oh, okay, there it is. A lot of the schools, I would say not by accident, try to schedule like the confidence games as you start the season early, and then kind of once you round into form and play those teams that are potentially as the more physical and better teams. So then we have at number 10 TABC. So I saw them against Ramaz, and you obviously see them quite a lot. They're dealing with injury with one of the top players in the league, Akiva Morgan. I think I said the name right finally once. Akiva Morgan's an easy name, so thank you for that, Akiva. But he's been injured. I heard he has an ankle injury. I know the coaching staff is hoping he'll be back in a game or two. But tell us about TABC. Obviously, without Morgan, Farber's stepped up, and I believe Hochstein, number 15, and then number 20. You got what are the names of some of them? You have some ball players, but I think when you lose your star, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, the pronunciation streak just ended because it's Faber, not Farber. But
I was gonna say Wick is out after
yeah, he was a man on a mission against JEC. He scored, I think he scored 14 first quarter points.
Wow.
And TBC had 17 at the end of one. He scored after scoring 3 against Ramaz. He scored 25 against JEC. So he really put the team on his back. I think that's a type of game that can now change the spirits for this TABC team, change the narrative. They have one more game before Thanksgiving break. They play Orr. So that's a perfect opportunity to go 500 and press the reset button.
And they also have that early season victory over Frisch. So that they know they can play with anyone.
Right. At the same time, though, among SOS, they really have it hard. They still have to play SAR twice. They still have to play Hillel twice. They still have to play Frisch once. But there's no question that last night's win over JEC, I don't think it's hyperbole. I think it really saved their season.
Yeah, as I said, I think that matchup was like a big one for both those JEC and TABC gutted that out and came up victorious. At number 9, another disappointing team, Hillel Heat. I know they're, but I actually didn't realize. I thought Terran did not play the other night against Flatbush. I heard he did. So they were at full force. They lost to Flatbush, which a lot of teams are losing to Flatbush. Flatbush is a very strong team. But they also lost to MTA.
That was without Tobias, apparently.
They what?
They did not have Tobias for the MTA loss, apparently.
Oh, okay. So they're dealing with injuries. But you know what? As someone who's been around this so long, the kids are just more. I mean, it's kind of like parallel to NBA. Kids are getting injured more and more just because of the physical part of the game and the tournaments and the amount of games they're playing. Like you're gonna have to play without. You're going to be playing at some point during the season without one of your better players. It's inevitable. We don't wish it upon anyone, but yeah, Hillel's been disappointing. Also going through a new coaching change. What have you seen about Hillel that's caught your eye?
Yeah, I made this determination well before the season started. You need Epstein, Terran, and Tobias all out on the court. If you have Tobias and Terran without Epstein, Epstein and Terran without Tobias, Tobias and Epstein without Terran, it's not going to go over well for them. They need all 3 players to stay formidable.
Right, and also ironically enough, I think except for maybe the MTA game, they're losing on the road. And generally their home court is such an advantage because it's such a long road trip. Right. So when teams get out there, they have to deal with the Hillel refs who they take out of their locker room and put on the court. And I'm joking, just that those refs are not doing many games in Northern Jersey or
other knows who they are. Yeah.
Right. So it's just really the long road trip. But they lost MTA at home. And those other games have been on the road. So we'll see if they could potentially catch a team, when they come back to Hillel off that road trip. At number 8, MTA, who just came off a thrilling game with SAR. I know SAR, speaking of stars being out, Ari Halpert was out. But it doesn't matter. Like I said, your wins and losses don't go about who you played. It's just like did you win or did you lose, and your record is as such. Really strong. I mean, it's amazing. This is the part about Yeshiva League basketball. As much as I think I know way too much about all these teams, never heard of this Richmond kid. Never heard of who's the other kid? There's the point guard. There's what's the name?
Yishai is the point guard.
Yeah. Well, him I heard of. There's another kid who's also been playing very well for them.
Avramov is the sharpshooter.
Okay, yeah. So I'm saying these kids, like, again, MTA has been for the past couple of years kind of under the radar. We know last year they had a phenomenal year, and shout out to Coach Ushi, who's obviously doing a great job with them. But again, they're competing, and they're one of those teams where like you look at them on your schedule and like before the season, I think everyone was saying, "Oh, we're playing MTA, that's a W." Right now, It's like you got to be ready because those kids play hard, well coached. and they have talent, and they're playing as a team. So kudos to them, and they're number 8, even with I think about a 500 record on the season thus far. At number 7, we have the Ramaz Rams. We talked about that with Noah Hiltsik. They're 5-1, tied with number 1 in their division with SAR right now. And it's funny, they're number 1 in the division, but they're only number 7 in our power ranking. So that just goes to show you that right now they're taking care of business on the teams they should beat. Right, as far as the teams we've mentioned below the power rankings, where as we are right now, but it's the teams like Frisch who they lost close game to, SAR who they lost a close game to, DRS, all these teams they played in tournaments, been right there, but they are. But then they had that big win against TABC, as we mentioned, without Borgen, but a good game. What have you seen from Ramaz now that you saw them also at the game against TABC?
Well, yeah, I actually spoke to some TABC players, and they were saying, like, even with the healthy Borgen, we don't want to go up against Ramaz because the matchup just doesn't favor us with Kushner and Seedy. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, of course you are. And you don't mess me.
The Twin Towers. So yeah, it's like you said, Ramaz are beating the teams they're supposed to be beating. Having said that, though, it's Scott has them feeling super confident now that I think they're starting to believe that they're in that upper echelon with SAR and Frisch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been a big point of emphasis. Like the guys, this is its season where you may not have, it's not your JV team 2 years ago where I think they went 500 and they made a first round playoff loss to actually TABC. It's a different team and it's a different ball game playing in varsity with kids stepping up. So they're at number 7, the Ramaz Rams. Number 6, the Magen David Warriors. I mean, we just don't have enough to say about them. Every year you say, okay, they're taking them. We've said this a little week before. They're taking a step down. They're one of the 2 undefeated teams left in the Yeshiva League season. They just take care of business. And I think the biggest, speaking of bigs, Chira, they call him Cheech, I hear, has been the Flatbush transfer, has been phenomenal for them. You saw him, they played against TABC. I was watching that game in the live stream. Kid was getting every rebound. He's great around the basket. He's got great footwork. And then you have the other horses, Hara, Shami, if I said it right, Dweck. They just have a great team. What did you see also having seen them play?
Yeah, it's actually funny because Cheech, as you mentioned, played a Flatbush, and he appeared in that playoff game last year where they almost beat TABC. But just going up against Kinderler, like, it's not the same person I'm seeing now in Magen David.
No, the kid's gotten in great shape and really, like, I don't know, the Magen David, they got him right, or he got himself right, because obviously all that work is put on upon yourself. But yeah, strong team. And again, Cheech is a big part of that. And number 6 is Magen David. And number 5 is North Shore, who had a big matchup early in our game of the week preview last week against SAR, which I was right, you were wrong. I just want to mention that to all million viewers out there. Now, I think I had them winning by 6. They actually ended up getting blown out.
Yeah, scoreline, we were both way off.
Yeah, we were both off on our money lines, but at least I had the victory, right? But again, North Shore already has proven themselves by running through the Memphis tournament, the Cooper tournament. But right now they are going to have to regroup. They just the other night played Rambam, beat them. So I think they have one loss. They have Hafter coming up. A good, strong team. But I think that SAR game was a big statement game for SAR. And, North Shore was probably, again, as Noah Hiltsik said, maybe one of those losses that's not the end of the world. It kind of like,
right.
As Coach Sean will tell you, like, we won the tournament. We're feeling great. We made the finals of the Magen David tournament. To lose and lose handily is not the end of the world, right, as far as that.
Right. And now you're home where you get a reality check that, what happened in Memphis happened in Memphis, and now it's back to phase 1 all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're at number 5. At number 4, DRS, the DRS Wildcats, who went through a part of their schedule where they were playing with a little shorthanded, a little injuries, and they were missing some players, and they took care of business. They beat YDE shorthanded, then they beat TABC shorthanded, and Borgen played in that game, I believe, at DRS. DRS is just I can't say it enough. It's just the championship pedigree from last year. Yeah. Spodek, Solomon Bennett, the core of that team, Saidi, and then getting some good minutes from some other kids. They are one of the 2 undefeated teams. We're going to talk about them in our game of the week. We actually have 2 games of the week. But right now they're just taking care of business. And again, I don't think you look at them. I don't think you look at any team this year as someone who's just on another level. But they are just. I think the going through that championship run has really strengthened those seniors and given them a lot of confidence.
Yeah, agreed. They're not going
Yeah.
anywhere.
No, they're at number four. At number three, you have the SAR Sting. SAR, just kind of going through their season right now. They had the Flatbush buzzer beater loss at the Gloverman tournament. They played Flatbush 4 times already, which is crazy. Beaten them twice, lost them twice. We're going to mention them in a minute or two in our game of the week. Other game of the week, they have a big game against Frisch upcoming. Halpert's injured. I don't know the details. I don't know if he's going to be back for Frisch or not. You may know in your area better, but they had a big game, a big step up game from Manu Webke, the sophomore, the other night against MTA. I think he had 25 plus points, 28 points, and wow, bringing him up to varsity makes he probably stole you a win right there. So I think that's a big one for them. What have you have not played SAR, but I know you know a lot about them. What do you think about them as number 3 in the rankings?
Yeah, no, obviously we're all hoping for Ari Halpert to get well as soon as possible.
Did he like hurt his wrist on one of his acrobatic things and like coming down to land? Like what was it? I heard it was his hand. I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I think it was in the Kushner Saturday night game because I think he sat out MTA entirely.
Right.
Yeah.
So we don't know. We don't know if he'll be back for Frisch.
I
Which
don't think he'll be available for the Frisch game, and I think I know we're only in November, but I think that game is going to be pretty big.
yeah, absolutely. So well, we wish him hopefully a speedy recovery. I know he's dealt with some injuries in the past, and again, SAR is one of those schools where next man up. They obviously have talent, and Manu. I think it's back to Manu, right? Is it Manu?
Let's go
Webke?
with Manu.
Manu, let's go with Manu. Let's go with whatever I say is probably wrong, and we'll just pick the other one, right? That's generally how it is. But again, stepped up, next man up, and he delivered. He's a lefty also, so like Halpert, his left hand, propelled them to victory. And number 2, Flatbush Falcons, who were cruising along, went into Frisch to play Frisch in our. It was not our game of the week because we didn't have a show before that. But Frisch took care of business pretty handedly. I think that game was within pretty much high single digits or double digits most of the game.
Right.
They may have cut it a little at the end, but a big win for Frisch. And obviously, Frisch will be number 1 in our power rankings as they're the only team we didn't mention. But Flatbush then rebounded, took care of Hillel. I think they beat Rambam or whatever other team they played. They're not going to lose a lot of games this season. With Coach Malk, the style of play they have, the hunger they have, and also with Louis Franco still not playing, injured, and he's only going to come back. So other kids are getting opportunities now. Flatbush is going to be strong throughout the year. And anything you want to add on that team with regards to Flatbush?
Well, I think if you had the option of beating Frisch in the regular season, having the number 1 ranking currently over the Globerman Trophy, I think they would still rather have the Globerman Trophy.
The Mag and David trophy. They have many trophies. They've already had banner night over there.
Yeah.
They know how to celebrate Flatbush.
Yeah, I think the first loss was one minor bump in the road, but besides that, I still think they're going to be up there from now until March. So
I agree. I don't see them anywhere minus the top 4 rankings throughout the season.
Not much to worry about.
Yeah. At number 1, Frisch, who I want to give the flowers, send the flowers to Frisch. Great comeback with a tough schedule they had. They had 3 games in three nights, 3 and 4 nights if you count California. They came out of it pretty strong. They lost the game happily to TABC, and then they took care of Flatbush. They took care of MTA. I mean, they were close games, and then they took care of Ramaz in a big one at Ramaz. So I think this team is fortified. They're tough. They're believing. They've had some roster changes right now. They've made some. They got a new starting point guard, and some things have been changed on the team over there. But they're looking good, and they're getting the complementary players to the superstar Isaac Stepner to, no pun intended, step up. And I think that makes the team so much more difficult when you have the Grossmans, the Neufelds, the Reinhardts, the Gervises, the Susses, and kids like that stepping up. What did you see? You saw them play. TABC beat them, but then you've also seen them go through this gauntlet and come out right now with just a 1 loss.
I mean, since that loss to TABC, they've reestablished themselves as the number 1 team in the league. The way Flatbush, that Flatbush game was 24 hours after TABC, so to beat
Right.
a Flatbush team, you know, when you're butt tired, and then a week later, Ramaz has their big pep rally that day, and to knock them off, with a clutch three by Neufeld, they, it confirms why everyone picked them as the preseason number one favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, coming off that flight from they played at TABC, fly back to Frisch the next day to play Flatbush. They were able to handle that travel, which was amazing. But yeah, no, kudos to them, Coach Jensen. Again, but they're going to have, as we said, we'll talk about it in about a moment or two. The tough schedule they have coming up and the teams that they're going to have to play. And these games that we're going to talk about next are really going to determine, the Sarachek. You want to get in the top two to get that Sarachek invite. You want to obviously win your division because you want to play off bye. It's so many things that are important because if you don't get a bye, you're playing tough games right away. And the 3-6 matchup or whatever it is always difficult, 4-5, whatever it is. So there are the power rankings. Kudos to Frisch. As we said, they're the new number one in our power rankings in our week 2 Yeshiva League tip-off podcast. And now let's get into our games of the week. So we have 2 because it was the week ahead. What we do is we usually look at when the podcast will post until about a week out until we do our next one. There were a lot of good games. The first one is coming up. Hopefully this will be previewed before the game actually happens. We're going to talk about our number 1 Frisch Cougars taking on the SAR Sting, the number 3 team in our power rankings. I believe this game is at
Frisch.
Is that Frisch?
Yeah.
I don't think it would be an upset if SAR beat them without Halpert. Obviously, we'll talk about our predictions, and they're definitely Frisch is a favorite in that game with our being out. But either, Jim, it's going to be a big game. The superstars are gonna be ready to go, and they're going to be ready for that game. What do you think is the key to this game as Frisch takes on SAR?
I just think it's too problematic for SAR that they're not going to have Ari Halpert in this game. It's like you said, these are when the stars show up. If SAR was home, maybe that crowd, that SAR Hive crowd, could be your sixth man and will you to victory over Frisch. But the 2 factors that go up against SAR, no Halpert, and you're playing in Paramus, I got to give the edge to Frisch.
Right, and they both have 1 loss, so they know, and they both have schedules coming up which they're going to have to play like some of those aforementioned teams. Yeah, I think it's the Stepner dynamic. It just with Halpert, Halpert could even steal some minutes guarding Stepner if they play man or zone. I know Rafi likes to switch things up, but I think that the Stepner, game is just such an advantage when he plays most teams, especially with teams. Even though Isaac doesn't always play like a big man, he plays like a really hybrid, forward that can go inside, outside. He prefers outside actually most of the time. But I think that it's going to be a big game, and I agree with that. If it was at SAR, not having Ari, you can kind of feed off the energy of the crowd, and I'm sure they'll get a lot of kids who go to that game who live locally and just obviously to come to that game. But I think Frisch probably goes into this game with Ari not playing as probably 11-point favorite, I think. But I just think it's going to be a single digit game. I just think all these rivalry games. They usually come down to those tight moments. I think Frisch wins by like 7-8 points. Probably leads throughout most of the game. SCR maybe makes a comeback at some point, maybe takes the lead by a point or two, but I think Frisch comes out victorious by 7 or 8 points. What's your prediction on that game?
Yeah, I think I'll say 58-48, Frisch win by 10.
Got it. And then kind of maintaining the tempo of the game throughout. I assume that you also probably.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to Flatbush. The way Frisch kind of dominated for the most part, and Flatbush chipped away at the end. That could happen in a similar case with SAR tomorrow night.
Right. All right. So we're both in agreement. We have Frisch over SAR. In our other game, because this is another great game, in the other division, you have DRS and Mag and David taking place on Saturday night at DRS, I believe this game
at
is.
At the Greenhouse.
At the Greenhouse. It's the 4 versus 6 in our power rankings. Another great top 10 matchup. I almost feel like we're college football here. We got a Saturday night top 10 team taking place. A great game because I don't think they've played in the Mag.
They played in Memphis.
Oh, they played in Memphis where DRS beat Mag, obviously because they lost in the championship. Going to be a good game. That greenhouse is great. Saturday night, one of the best home courts. That along with TABC and probably the Yeshiva League. It's going to be a good game, and this is going to be Magan last year lost and already started this year. They haven't beaten TAB. I'm sorry, they haven't beaten DRS in probably like the last 6 matchups or so. I think last year they played like 4 or 5 times with Shabbat and Cher and that crew. What's the key to this game as DRS hosts Magan on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think I am paying close attention to the Cheech Solomon matchup.
Yeah, great point.
I want to see who wins the battle on the glass. I want to see if Solomon can get Cheech into foul trouble. There's no doubt that Mag and David will have revenge in mind because the last time they were at the greenhouse on a Saturday night, we all know what happened there with Joe Aaron.
Right. All right, that was the buzzer beater to send them to the semis, or that was
to the championship.
To the championship, right? That was in the semis, right?
Yeah. There's nobody who prepares a team better than Coach Spike, but I just think a Saturday night at the greenhouse is too hard to overcome for Mag and David.
All right, as Mag and David again, underdog, always, kind of like no one thinks we're going to be as good as we should be because we're just not the same team year to year. So I would say a spread on this is DRS is probably favored at home by 6 points. I'm actually going to say Magan wins. I don't know. Yeah, you know what? I just feel like I don't give them enough. I mean, we give them the respect because we talk about them, how about great the program is. But I think when you look at the players individually, you kind of never are not overwhelmed this year, even though they're talented. But I think the way they're playing as a team, and I think the way the cheat, play is going to be so big, and he's really impressed me in the games I've seen him live and the live streams. And then I just feel like the Dwex, the Harras, everyone is playing their regular players, no injuries. I think DRS is probably a 4 to 6 point favorite, but I think Magan wins this game. I see overtime. I see them winning in overtime on a Saturday night packed house. Magan wins by 2 points. That's my call. Not feeling incredibly confident about it, but I don't know. That's a pop to my head. Magan's going to win this game. What do you think happens over there Saturday night?
Yeah, I'll take DRS by 4, maybe 61-57. Honestly, if this game was in Brooklyn, I think I would pick Magan. I just think there's something about playing at the greenhouse on a Saturday night. I just think, this will have a playoff environment type feel to it.
Absolutely. Well, they're both the two undefeated teams, right? In the Yeshiva League.
Yeah,
right?
So it already has a script. It already has a storyline set up. I mean,
right.
Unless
neither of them has a loss.
Archive before that game.
Right, exactly. Like neither of them have a loss. It goes big for first place, right? Because as you know, Magan's going to play Flatbush twice, I assume. DRS, I don't know if they play Flatbush or whatever it is, the other teams. But it's such a big one. If you can get one on the other team's home court, and especially, I don't know if they play once or twice this year, but it's going to be a great game. I think Magan wins by 2. Overtime, you think DRS wins by 4 in regulation. And those are our two. We don't normally have 2 games of the week, but I think we both agreed that these were 2 top 10 matchups that deserve the breakdown. So that's the episode, Yeshiva League Pass podcast tip-off episode number 2. Again, thank you to our sponsor, Holy Schnitzel. From beginning to end, you eat at Holy Schnitzel, you come out happy, you come out full, and you come out craving more Holy Schnitzel. So thank you to them for our sponsorship. And if you're interested in sponsoring, please reach out to Yeshiva League Pass on the Instagram. Also, phenomenal shout out to the team of Yeshiva League Pass this year, who's been getting those posts up of the daily recaps of the games, who's won, the high scores, the pictures. It's not lost on all these kids. They love it. It's like it is the ESPN for us Yeshiva League Jewish ballers, and hockey as well, and all the other sports that it carries. It's been great to get all those recaps. So for Oren Glickman, I'm Ari Wickes. Thank you. And episode number 2 is in the books.